Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Vidjagameguy here with my new setup and for my new webcam, and so I hope this video looks good, but this should have been an easy video to see coming, as I have not shied away from mentioning my love for the Gundam franchise on this channel, even if some of my opinions are definitely out of the norm for the Gundam fandom. But with the newest piece of the Gundam franchise, set in the Universal Century no less, I apologize I haven't gotten back around to Journey Through the UC yet, I promise I'll get back to it, I'll get back to it. But you know I have to post my review and discussion of Mobile Suit Gundam Hathaway's Flash right now. And feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments below, I'd love to hear what you thought about the movie as well. So first is going to be a more standard review portion, and this will be spoiler free. This movie is absolutely incredible. The animation is stunning in every frame, and combining that with an amazing soundtrack, of course headed by the legend Hiroyuki Sawano, even increases the level of enjoyment I have for this movie. I've watched this movie twice now, once by myself and once with my buddies, and both times it was freaking great. I might have even enjoyed it more the second time with some more context and after having thought about it a little bit after the first viewing. And my buddies literally know nothing about Universal Century Gundam, and they really enjoyed the movie as well. So it's even enjoyable by those who haven't seen much, though you might want to explain a little bit to the people who haven't seen Char's Counterattack if you have the opportunity. You don't have to explain that much, it's mostly just the quest stuff, but that could enhance some buddies that you might want to watch the movies with, is experience. I also really enjoyed the characters and thought that some of the things said and approached in this film were absolutely fantastic. I'm super excited, now that I know it's going to be a trilogy, to see the rest of the story as well. But this definitely doesn't leave me feeling like, because there's more story, the ending is weird. I want more, but am already satisfied by the movie by itself, which is the best thing you can strive for in these multi-part story movies. Though I definitely have some questions and felt there were some slower or weird parts to the film, but that definitely doesn't affect it much, as that's just me putting my nitpicky hat on at that point. All in all, it is an absolutely fantastic film with stunning visuals and story, and I would definitely recommend it. But now let's get down into some of the more nitty-gritty, spoil-filled discussion breakdown. We start with the incredible opening, which is Pumpkin Guy and the rest of Fake Mafty boarding the plane. This scene gives pretty obvious connotations towards Gigi being a new type, which is very interesting and definitely made me want to know more about her, and it also introduces us to Kenneth, who I find to be really cool and also interesting in the way he acts. He is kind of the new hotshot commander, but uses it in more of a jokey way than in a bragging way, which makes him infinitely more compelling and entertaining to watch. Then there's the shootout and reveal that these are fakes, which definitely makes sense considering I feel like most people knew going into this movie that Hathaway was gonna be Mafty, and those just don't seem to be in the same boat between what Hathaway's goals would be and these guys are doing. But this scene also helps set up that this is going to get dark, what with Pumpkin Guy freaking blowing that one cabinet dude's brains out instantly. It also sets up a good tone for the film while also giving us a little action before a big stretch of dialogue. I feel like Gigi and Hathaway's relationship is just weird though. I get she's a new type and she figures out he's Mafty, but I felt the same way as Hathaway when he's wondering if she's trying to seduce him. Gigi is by far to me the strangest character in this film, and I still don't exactly know what's going on with her even after watching the entire film. But speaking of those two, there is this weird line about how new types don't exist or whatever, but I believe they're referring to the all-knowing God-style new type from the earlier part of the conversation, which in itself is interesting, as it's obvious from this point forward that Hathaway knows what he's doing is wrong, but can't think of any other solution for his problems, and Gigi saying you need someone all-knowing is absurd, though the way she tells him to become a god is definitely unsettling. The scenes of Hathaway and some of his Mafty cohorts leads to some interesting topics. The bottomless pockets of Earth's elite, the fact that he needs a diversion / something that will keep his cover intact, which I feel could have used a little more explaining, but I feel like I understood it more on the second watch through. And of course, learning about this new group called the Hunters, which forced deportation and almost seem like next generation Titans, which is definitely concerning, especially considering they are just walking around in mobile suits with a freaking gunner on there. Like, it's nuts. They're just walking through the city with that thing. This leads into my opinion, which is one of the most compelling dialogue exchanges of the entire film between Hathaway and the cab driver. The driver mentions how he doesn't understand why Mafty wants everyone to go to space, and that the environment isn't that polluted. They have enough to eat. I mean, they're fine. Of course, Hathaway's rebuttal is that they're talking thousands of years in the future, but I feel like the cab driver's response that only someone with a lot of time on their hands could think that far ahead, and that he has enough to think about just getting by day to day, is a common and reasonable response for even our own modern day arguments of a similar nature. I get that can sound bad, but I'm with the cab driver. There's just so much stuff to take care of and think about in our own lives. It's so freaking hard to add the existential dread of pollution and stuff on top of that. Like, don't get me wrong, it's a problem. But we're talking about 1,000 years in the future, as Hathaway says. We aren't even talking about my/your kids or grandkids. That's so far away, who knows where humans will be, or even if they'll be. I mean, if you don't plan on or just don't have kids, that even makes it an even less reason to care, which, I mean, I don't mean to judge this guy, but it doesn't look like he's a family man, if you know what I'm saying. My existence probably won't even be remembered at that point, so why the hell should I burden myself with caring? And you can tell by the Hathaway looks away, he doesn't really have a response to that. I mean, this conversation just feels so real to me that out of everything in this movie, this part just sticks out to me so much. Then, probably the best scene in the movie happens, which is that transfer from the dancing to the ships climbing and then the launch with like badass cockpit stabilizing, along with by far the best song in the whole movie. I mean, this leads to a moment of just pure hype, yet simultaneous dread, knowing the damage that the suits are about to do. That, I mean, makes me just proud to be a Gundam fan, as nothing else could make me feel the same combination of emotions in the way that this scene makes me feel. Which is capped off by maybe my favorite line in the movie, which is Gallman saying that, "My condolences to the souls of those who get caught in the crossfire." I mean, it just gives me the shivers thinking about him saying that. Like, it's insane to me. I was originally a little confused on why the attack happened, but I mean, after my second watch through, I now realize that he was originally supposed to escape in the car with Emeralda, but he ran off with Gigi instead, which seems to be an impulsive decision that he can't even figure out why he's making, as it definitely doesn't make any sense. I think he just feels the connection to Gigi similar to Quest. But man, this whole battle part of the movie is the best I've ever seen at truly getting across the scale of mobile suits, along with the immense destruction they can cause. I feel like I can forget the scale of these things when I've seen so much mecha and Gundam, but this part of the movie makes you feel not only in awe of the size of these mecha, but also the terror and the destruction that they can cause. And it has some great camera angles that show what it looks like to truly be on the ground while these things fight. I mean, combining that with these awesome spark effects where they're just flying everywhere and melting everything, I mean, I just feel like there has never been a moment in Gundam that has truly made me understand the scale of a mobile suit and the destruction they can cause quite like this. I mean, even my buddies were making jokes about how you could be carrying around your girl and your mobile suit just steps on it. You turn around and you're like, oh, why is she so much lighter? Oh my god! Like, it's nuts. It is absolutely breathtaking and shot so perfectly and smartly with the angles and sparks. I mean, just that beam rifle falling to the ground and being basically 2 stories tall itself was such a nice touch. I mean, it's incredible. My buddies were floored by a new understanding of just how large mobile suits are and the destruction they can cause. And I mean, that is definitely a giant praise for this movie. And ending all of these with that scene of Hathaway holding Gigi as sparks fly from Gallman's mobile suit, that shot will no doubt go down in Gundam history. It has to. This part of the movie also ends with Kenneth's arrival and Gigi's running to Kenneth, sending Hathaway into seeing a flash of Quest running to Char. And the just dead look on Hathaway's face after that and his seriousness for the rest of the film really makes this moment important. It feels like this is the moment that he decides, screw these relationships, screw all this bull crap I've been doing. I need to get back on track here and carry out my goals. And he becomes kind of cold and definitely more focused from that point forward in the movie. Not to mention, that's a direct reminder and similar situation to the tragedy that was the whole Quest situation for him that has already probably traumatized him so freaking much. Of course, we also meet Lane Aim here, who pilots the Penelope, but I don't really have a lot to say about Lane, and if this was a movie by itself, I would definitely feel we don't know enough about him, but as we've got 2 movies left to go, I feel like we'll be seeing a lot more of Lane and how he develops, and I'll have more to say about that in possibly those reviews. But the next part I really wanted to cover is the retrieval of the Psy Gundam, which I was a little confused why Emeralda was so stressed. I assume it's how close they are getting to, like, being pulled in by the atmosphere, as they're in, like, the lower atmosphere doing a pickup, and that the mobile suit could be pulled down to Earth, she could be pulled down to Earth, and they burn to death. But, I mean, that's the only really explanation I have, and I feel like that could have used maybe a little bit of explaining, in my opinion, but, I mean, it's still a great scene. But when we really get into it is frickin' that really interesting Amuro flash, which is definitely ominous and points towards where the films are going to go, which was weird, exciting, and unnerving all at the same time. I say that's where it's gonna go, not having read Hathaway's flash. I don't think it was ever translated anyways, but in the point of, like, I feel like that's where this is going. And I think it's a really interesting thing to say. You can be prepared for death, but it's not gonna come when you're waiting for it. It's gonna creep up on you, and I think that line's gonna be important in one of these later films, probably the last one. And of course, we also finally get a good look at the Psy Gundam, and I will admit, I thought it was a little dark and hard to see the whole fight, but it still looked awesome, and both the Gundams are freaking incredible. I mean, I'm glad they explained that ending part with the throwing the beam rifle, also because the darkness and, like, I really couldn't tell what was going on there, and I felt like that needed an explanation. I'm glad they explained it. I mean, the Gundams look fantastic. The sound effects and maneuvering is so cool. There's that scene at the end, like I just said, with the beam rifle, which is great strategy. Gauman falling from the sky, and then having to pick up Gauman. I mean, it's all just incredible. And it ends with a freaking missile barrage. I mean, all those missiles just bah, 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 like the look on Lane's face. I mean, everything about this bit is just freaking awesome and incredible, and I love it. It's great. The only thing I feel like I really have left to say is that this definitely takes place in a timeline where Unicorn didn't happen. Like, I know this was written like, well before Unicorn, so that was probably something that was going to happen, but I mean, like, this just proves that Unicorn has to be a different timeline from, like, all the late UC stuff that Tomino has done and stuff like that, because while I haven't actually seen it, I did just order my Blu-ray of F91, though, so I will be seeing some of it soon. There's no way that, like, all the horrible things I've heard happen to like Earth or whatever happen in a Unicorn-based world, which is a little bit more optimistic in my opinion. So I'm really hoping that one day we get to see some stuff that makes more sense to have come after Unicorn. Like, I doubt we will, but a man can dream. But yeah, this video is kind of long for a review. I guess not long for a review, but, you know, you really want to stare at me for that much longer? But I just really wanted to get my thoughts out. I really love this movie and can't wait to see more, and you know I'll be talking about them when they come out, however far away they may be. But I really hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please leave a like, comment, or maybe subscribe, as it really helps me out. Tell me what you guys thought of this video, how I could improve, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Later.